Hey guys, Sean Taylor here with Silver Creek Realty Group and the Rock, Idaho team. Today I wanted to tell you about my boxing. And some of you have seen my Facebook post where I come in, I've got a black eye or my nose is all bloodied up or whatever. And I wanted to tell you about why in the heck I started boxing late in life. And it's kind of a funny story. So at 40 years old, I went into a local gym here in Idaho and a boxing gym, and they wouldn't let me train there, and they said I was too old. So fast forward many years, over a decade, and there aren't very many boxing gyms here in town, and I found a guy named Richard Ransom, awesome guy, and he was doing boxing out of his garage and training and also doing Krav Maga. So he was awesome, and started working out in his with him and a bunch of young guys in there, probably about 7 or 8 of us usually. And we do an hour of boxing, and all kind of mostly on the beginner skill level, and then doing the Krav Maga as well. So I really enjoyed it, but I mostly loved the boxing side of things. The Krav Maga was good, but I had a harder time remembering the techniques of disarming people, and we did a little bit of more stuff on the ground, which was a little bit harder on my back and shoulders. So I wanted to stick to the boxing. Then I ended up having a year or two of some bad luck with health with my low back, and both shoulders needed surgery, gained some weight, and was kind of depressed about not being able to work out as much. And anyway, so then came along Marin Boxing Academy, and it's only like a mile and a half from my house, and it's just the friendliest gym you've ever been to. All different skill levels. They never had a problem with how old I am. I'm 53, turning 54. And so I started training there. And the thing I like about boxing, besides just the physical aspect of it, dripping sweat and getting in there with all these mostly younger people, they have all different skill levels in there. They have men, women, all different ages. There's a couple boxers older than me in there, not many, but I love the fact that it's such a mental sport. And it's kind of like, a lot of you know that I love playing Texas Hold'em. I have forever. And I felt like Texas Hold'em helped me in my real estate business, because when you sit at a table, you're working with all different personality types, from the over-the-top aggressive style to the quiet cerebral player. And a lot of you know about, in poker, you've heard about people having tells. And usually those tells are very subtle, and they're almost subliminal, and you just have to kind of pick up on them, just like you do in conversations with people about how they're feeling about the conversation, etc. And earlier today, my wife told me about a tell that Andre Agassi figured out about Boris Becker, the tennis players. And it was a really interesting story, because Andre Agassi had gotten beat by Boris Becker 3 times, and Boris Becker was known to just have this incredible serve that tennis hadn't really ever seen before. And I'm not much of a tennis guy, but Andre Agassi, after getting beat 3 times by Boris Becker, just studied the heck out of him. And in his films, he realized that Boris Becker had a tell. And Boris Becker would put his tongue, right before he served, center of his mouth. He would stick it out, kind of like your Michael Jordan. And that meant that he was hitting more center court or straight at his body. And when he moved his tongue out to the right, it meant he was going more to the sideline with his serve. And Andre was saying that the hardest part was not giving up the fact that he knew his tell, and went on to beat him numerous times. And Boris Becker reported, and he didn't tell Boris about it until I think they were both retired. And Boris was like, I can't believe it. Yeah, I just can't believe that you figured that out. And Boris didn't know that he had that tell, and he went back and he looked at the tapes. Was like, oh my gosh. And Boris said that he used to, after getting beat by Andre, would go back and tell his wife, it's like, this guy's reading my mind. Like, how does he do this? How does he know where I'm going? How does he respond this quickly, etc.? Well, in boxing, there's tells like crazy, but you have split seconds, milliseconds to figure them out. And what I like about boxing is that I'm constantly finding out things that I'm doing wrong, more so than what I'm doing right. So for instance, this week I was finding out, or last week I find out, that when you're boxing, you want to blade up, give them your shoulder, keep your chin tucked so you have less target. If you're like this, you watch Street Fighters, they telegraph their punches. They bring their right hand back. They usually drop their left, and they're just swinging for the fences. They bring their elbow way in the heck out there. And most good boxers, they're more right here. They're keeping those elbows tucked, and they just whap, and they're coming quick. Well, one thing that I do wrong is I do pretty good with that jab, and you're keeping your distance with your opponent. You're staying bladed. You're protecting your face, and you can go like that. You block your punches. You can bob and weave, etc. But one thing I do is I throw that jab pretty good, but right afterwards, I turn that right hand, and that tells them this one's coming. I telegraph that. So the trainers at Marin Boxing Academy are like, Sean, we know you're throwing that right. It's just obvious because I turn it before I throw it. So instead, what you're supposed to do is, if you want to lead with that, you're coming out and you don't turn it till the last second, and then you're not telegraphing it. So it's just one more thing I got to work on. It's always something. Other times I'm lifting my chin. Other times I'm turning my body. I'm opening up too much. Sometimes I'm lifting my elbows up too much. I'm not throwing my hook right. I'm not lifting that elbow up enough. So that's why a lot of boxers, they shadow box so much. That's working in front of the mirror. And you've probably seen the movies and stuff where you see these guys just shadow boxing. It's because they're working on their technique. They're working on their body movement, their footwork, their head movement, moving their head out of the way, which I'm also very slow at. So every time I go in there, it's like dancers, I suppose, that are working on their footwork and just getting it all to work so smoothly. And it's fun, and yet it's also, you can get pretty critical about yourself as well. And the best part of it that I find the funnest is getting in the ring and actually kind of putting these things to work. And for instance, feints where you'll see a boxer and they go like that, or they do a little fake movement and it tries to get your opponent off, and then you throw your strike. And so not only are you having to remember the stuff that you do right, wrong, or whatever, but you're also reading your opponent and looking for their tells so that you know when to strike and how to get that opening, how to come in on somebody the right way, when to throw the hook, when to throw the uppercut, how to open them up with your jab and move their hand out of the way. There's just so much mental stuff going on in there, like a poker game, like a tennis match, like most sports. And it's fun to be able to have a sport at my age and learn it and put it to practice. And unfortunately, every once in a while you get bloodied up a little bit, but I actually enjoy that. So you're kind of sick. I don't know. Anyway, thank you, Richard. Thank you, everybody over at Marin Boxing Academy. I love you guys, and thank you for everything that I'm learning and that I have something to look forward to challenging myself with every day.